Former NBA star and Southern California native Gilbert Arenas has pleaded not guilty to charges involving an illegal gambling operation business.
Eyewitness News reporter Tim Caputo is in studio with all of the details. Tim.
Mark Giovanna, there are poker games and then there's this. Very different. The way the Department of Justice describes it, this was not your run-of-the-mill poker night with friends. This was more like a casino with paid chefs, paid valets, and waitresses that allegedly offered a lot more than just drinks. The former NBA star Gilbert Arenas, one of several defendants who the U.S. attorney claims ran this illegal gambling operation and got a cut of all the money spent. The Department of Justice claims between September of 2021 and July of 2022, Arenas rented out an Encino mansion to host those high-stakes poker games. The indictment says Arenas, who made well more than $100 million over the course of his NBA career, directed several people to stage this home you're looking at here in Encino to host those illegal poker nights, where Arenas, according to the DOJ, would receive money for use of the house. This photo, which Arenas allegedly texted to one of the other men charged, shows one of the alleged poker tables used. It literally has his name and number on it. The DOJ claims those half a dozen organizers, who are all charged, profited off those poker nights by charging rent to use the house, collecting a fee for each game, and also taking a percentage of the money earned by the women who worked those events. Gilbert Arenas today was arraigned in federal court, where he pleaded not guilty to the 3 counts.
I barely had a chance to talk to him because of the circumstances. As far as the case, it's a little early for us to comment on it, so we'll just sort of see how things go, but he is getting out on bail.
And what's the spirit like?
I'm sorry?
The spirit, how his mood?
He seemed fine when I saw him.
But it has been a tough year for Arenas. The arrest comes just months after his son Elijah was seriously injured when his Cybertruck crashed into a tree in Reseda back in April. Elijah, a USC recruit, fully recovered from that crash, but just last month he injured his knee in practice and will likely miss the entire season. As for Gilbert, the dad, he has been released on $50,000 bond. His trial is scheduled for late September. Tim Caputo, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
This is coming from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, records, the vault. The subject, Tupac Shakur. It reads, title, as you can see, omitted. Throughout this document, there's information omitted from the original file. Whenever we come to omitted information, I'll simply say blank. Tupac Shakur, victim, deceased. Eazy-E, victim, deceased. Death threats, Los Angeles. Armed and dangerous. Now, this is the synopsis of this overall investigation. Request to open a 266A matter regarding death threats and extortion involving rap music stars Tupac Shakur, deceased, Eazy-E, deceased, and other victims yet unidentified. During the interview, blank advised writer that blank and others yet unidentified have been extorting money from various rap music stars via death threats. The scheme involves blank and other subjects making telephonic death threats to the rap star. Subjects then intercede by contacting the victim and offering protection for a fee. The victim and their families are taken to a safe haven, usually a private estate, and are protected by gun-toting bodyguards associated with the Jewish Defense League, the JDL. The subjects convince the victim they have worked a deal out with the persons making the death threats, and the threats cease. The victim then pays the subject for the protection services rendered and resume their normal lifestyle with no fear of further death threats. Blank identified Eazy-E, deceased, who reportedly was targeted by subjects for extortion prior to dying from complications associated with AIDS. Eazy-E resided in Van Nuys, California. In addition to the aforementioned, on October 8, 1996, Detective blank LAPD and writer interviewed a Los Angeles source of proven reliability concerning the ODEH bombing matter. During that interview, source corroborated the above information. According to source blank, reportedly enlists the services of one blank, not further identified at this time, whom source described as a caper or ambulance chaser to assist with the extortion scheme. Source stated that blank used this same scheme when he would rip off drug dealers. Source stated that monetary amount being extorted is in the $50,000 range. Writer is familiar with captioned subjects as their names have surfaced in the ODEH investigation, and also a case captioned Jewish Defense League.
This is the first authentic story of how the syndicate controls and operates every racket and vice in the nation. Based on the bullet-riddled pages of the bestseller by former Assistant New York District Attorney Burton Turkis and Sid Fader, the bombshell that exploded it all, the hoods, the sleazy babes, the wanton gunmen who accounted for the incredible total of approximately 1,000 killings executed by Murder Incorporated.
One of the biggest complaints and concerns about the hip-hop culture is its influence on the younger generations. But who is the influencer of these artists? Where did they get their stage names from? Many hip-hop artists took on the names of Italian mobsters, Panamanian mobsters, Brazilian mobsters, and even religious cult leaders such as Jim Jones. However, there's another community some hip-hop artists took their names from that seems to go unnoticed. Let's touch on a little history of a group of gangsters from the Jewish community. This is coming from the Jewish Almanac, 1980, page 60 and 61. It says, they had names like Phil the Stick Kovalak, Charles King Solomon, Waxy Gordon, Louis Shadows Kravitz, Harry Big Greenie Greenberg, Dandy Phil Castile, Jacob Greasy Thumb Guzik, Abe Kid Twist Rellies, Jacob Gura Shapiro, Max Boo Boo Hoff, Abner Longy Zawilman, Arthur Dutch Schultz Flagenheimer, Jacob Yasha Katzenberg, Arnold the Brain Rothstein, Louis Lepke Buchalter, and Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. That's right, this is where Benny Siegel took his name from. What they had in common was that they were all American gangsters, and they were all Jews. It would not be an exaggeration to say that their influence on organized crime in the United States during the 1920s and the 1930s rivaled, if not exceeded, that of their Italian counterparts. Skipping down to another section of this page, it says, for a time they dominated the rackets, in other words, racketeering, in Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, Newark, Philadelphia, and New York. A composite portrait of the typical Jewish gangster of this period would show him to be a second-generation American male of Eastern European parentage, city-bred, and in his early 20s. His parents would be working class and traditional rather than Orthodox Jews. That is, they would observe a number of the Jewish traditions and holidays, but would not comply with all the religious injunctions that an Orthodox Jews required to perform. Now, skipping over to page 61, it says, it was Lepke who campaigned for a special enforcement group to keep the peace and ensure that the syndicate's decisions were carried out, sometimes referred to as Murder Incorporated. Murder Inc. for short. This crack corps of killers was made up primarily of Jews from Brownsville, East New York, and Ocean Hill. They became the official execution squad for the syndicate. When Dutch Schultz boasted that he would do things his way, he was killed, and it was Charlie the Bug Workman and Mendy Weiss, two Murder Incorporated in other words, Murder Inc. for short, killers who did the job on order from Lepke. What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.